Ebony Edge had met her boyfriend when he came to work in Innisfail in March 2006. Cyclone Larry had just devastated the area, and Paul was one of the contractors who had travelled north to work in the rebuilding phase that followed. He was a painter from Tasmania, and when it was time for him to go home, Ebony went with him so they could start a new life together. The move, however, was a disaster. All they ever did was fight, so they decided to split up. She returned home to move in with Mum and Dad and settled down to life in Innisfail again. She spent the next few months working for the Parks and Wildlife Service. The cyclone had destroyed animal habitats, and she spent her time chasing cassowaries and catching crocodiles. It was an exciting job, but what she really wanted was to be a paramedic. Before going to Tasmania, she'd worked as an auxiliary firefighter and soon became interested in the work ambulance crews did at emergencies. She thought the adrenaline and the excitement would be perfect for her and applied to be a student paramedic with the Queensland Ambulance Service. Just after sending off her application though, she started having dizzy spells. At first she put it down to chasing fast-moving wildlife in the summer heat, but then one day at work she passed out. At the hospital, doctors were worried that she'd had a seizure, as a close relative has epilepsy. She was sent for MRI scans and countless other tests, but no explanation for her blackout could be found. She worried what this could mean to her chances of becoming a paramedic. She'd passed all of the ambulance service's medical and fitness tests, but knew deep down something must be going on. One night, while out for a drink at the local leagues club, she felt a strange butterfly sensation in her belly, and the reason for the dizziness and the tiredness suddenly became clear. An over-the-counter test taken the next day confirmed that the butterfly sensation was actually a kick, and she was pregnant. She went to her friend's house in tears. "Oh my God, I'm having a baby," was all she could howl. Her friend took her to the hospital where doctors said she was 20 weeks pregnant. Ebony knew she was much further along than that. She'd been back from Tasmania for over 6 months and hadn't been in a relationship since then. An ultrasound put her at 32 weeks. To make matters worse, an hour after finding out she was pregnant, she was told by the ambulance service that she'd been accepted as a student paramedic. In tears again, she declined the offer. It felt like the bottom had fallen out of her world. No partner, her career dreams shattered, and over 7 months pregnant without realising it. For the first time in months, she spoke to Paul in Tasmania. She said she was having a baby. "That's great," he said. "Congratulations," not realising what she was trying to tell him. She explained that he was going to be a father. He was shocked, but happy, and flew back to Innisfail as soon as he could. Their son Taj was born 5 weeks later. He was induced as there was still some doubt over how long Ebony had been pregnant for. Paul and Ebony didn't get back together. She lives in Innisfail with Taj, and Paul still lives in Tasmania. She had a difficult labour and then experienced crushing postnatal depression. Psychologically unprepared for motherhood, his arrival had thrown her life into turmoil. She'd planned on a career with a marriage and a house with a white picket fence around it long before she'd planned on having a baby. The first year and a half after Taj's birth remains a blur for her. Then one day, after a conversation with a friend in, of all places, Woolworth's meat department, she asked herself, "Are you still in your life?" She considered what she wanted to do and knew without a doubt she still wanted to be a paramedic. She was accepted into CQU's paramedic science program and is now halfway through her degree. She also works locally for the ambulance service as a casual patient transport officer. Ebony says her life is now back on track. It's just 6 years later than she originally planned. She loves Taj to bits. She just wishes his entrance had been a little less stormy than the cyclone that brought his parents together.